ladies and gentlemen. If you remember, in the previous lecture, this is our fifth lecture that we are going to talk about the same lesson that we have been talking in the previous two lectures. The lesson is the man who planted trees. Here, in Unit 4, of course, this is the theme of the unit. I told you, I have explained it in the very start of the unit. I have been repeatedly referring back to this theme because it has a very important role throughout the whole unit. I will just repeat it again, that the theme of this whole unit is hope, courage and determination. These three phenomena are being explored through two stories and one poem. Determination, we have discussed that. Now we are in lesson second, which is the man who planted trees. And if you remember, we were on page number 147. Before that, I will quickly summarize what we have studied so far. So this is a story about a shepherd who is living in a far-flung area alone. And there is another man, the writer of the story. He visited that place, this wilderness, this barren land in the hilly areas of Alps, where he was searching for water, and suddenly he found this gentleman, the shepherd. They met and he offered him water because the writer was searching for water for almost 3 days. After getting water from the shepherd, he was invited to shepherd's cottage, which was very much there in that hilly area. They both went together, and then the writer commented on his living, his environment, and he said the place where he was living, this was a very good home built with stone, a permanent house. Its roof was sound and good. Everything was organized. The dishes were washed, and his rifle was oiled. It was ready anytime. And everything was very well organized. He was very cleanly and neatly dressed. And at the same time, he was about to plant trees. So the writer was a bit confused initially when he saw that the person brought a sack. Inside that sack, there were acorn seed that I showed you in the previous lecture. You can refer back to that. In that sack, there were seeds of acorns, which is used to plant oak trees. So what he did before going to bed, he selected the best 100 oak tree seeds that we call acorns, and then he went to bed. That was the point where we left yesterday. I am on page number 147. Please open your books on page 147. Paragraph number first. I'm going to read from that point. There was peace in being with this man. The writer is again commenting on the situation, and he is saying that there is peace living in such a far-flung area, alone, away from people, away from the busy routine of city. This is the ideal life. There is a lot of peace in that. The next day I asked if I might rest here for a day. The next day, writer is asking the shepherd that can I stay for one more day? He found it quite natural, or to be more exact, he gave me the impression that nothing could startle him. Of course, the shepherd did not refuse. He said, yes, you can stay with me for another day. The rest was not absolutely necessary, but I was interested and wished to know more about him. When the writer asked the shepherd that I want to stay with you for one more day, he was not actually resting. He was not tired anymore. He said, my intention was not to get rested. My intention was to find more about this shepherd. Why is he living alone here in this wilderness? Why is he doing all this? And what exactly is he doing? So to find more about the shepherd, I asked him that can I stay for a day more, and he accepted. He opened the open and led his flock to pasture. He opened the door of his area where he was keeping those lambs and sheep. He opened that and he leaded them to the fields. Before leaving, he plunged his sack of carefully selected and counted acorns into a pail of water. Before leaving, the sack, if you remember, he collected all those good seeds in a sack. So he take out that sack and he put those acorn seeds in water before leaving for the fields. Look at the next paragraph. I noticed that he carried for a stick an iron rod as thick as the thumb and about 1.5 yards long. The shepherd, he was carrying the sack of acorns with him, but there was another thing that was really important for him, and that was an iron rod, which was 1.5 yards or 1.5 meters long and as thick as a thumb. So he was also carrying that rod with him. Resting myself by walking, I followed a path parallel to his. He was going along with the shepherd, but on a parallel route. He was not following him, but he was going along with the shepherd. He left the dog in charge of the little flock and climbed towards where I stood. The shepherd, he, in areas where, or even I believe even in recent times, if you have so many sheep or lambs or goats, etc., these shepherds, they used to keep a dog for that. And what those dogs do, basically they actually control the flock. If a sheep or a goat or a lamb used to get astray from the rest of the flock or the herd, that is the job of the dog to pull it back or push it back towards the flock, right? So they are trained in that way. So he left the dog in charge of the flock and he went up through the hill. I was afraid that he was about to rebuke me for my indiscretion, but it was not at all. I was, the writer says that he was afraid. He said that I was afraid because I was, somehow accompanying him without asking his permission. So I thought that the shepherd is coming to rebuke me. But he did not even notice that. He did not say anything to me. This was the way he was going, and he invited me to go along if I had nothing better to do. And when he reached towards me, in fact, he invited me that this is my way, I'm going to the other side. If you want to come with me, if you want to join me, you are more than welcome. He climbed to the top of the ridge about 100 yards away, and he started climbing the hills. Look at the next paragraph. There he began thrusting his iron rod into the earth, making a hole in which he planted an acorn. Then he filled the hole. As soon as he reached the top or the place where he intended to plant the trees, he used to stick that rod in the ground to make a hole, and then those acorn seed that he selected quite carefully last night, he used to put one in that one hole and then fill the hole with the mud, of course. He was planting oak trees. Now the writer came to know that my curiosity, that I was curious why this person is living here, what is he going to do with these acorn seeds. Now I come to know, okay fine, he is planting oak trees basically. I asked him if the land belonged to him. So definitely this is very common, natural. When you are planting tree in a field or in an area, it definitely means that you are the owner of that, or maybe you are working in that field. So the writer asked him, this land, does it belong to you? He answered no. The shepherd said, no, I don't, this land does not belong to me. I am not the owner of this land. Did he know who it was? The writer asked him, okay fine, if it is not your land, then you must know that whose land is that. He did not. He said, no, I don't even know whose land is this. He supposed it was community property or perhaps belonged to people who care nothing about it. It is very strange. This is something very much, this is very much unique, different, or I would say novel. Because the shepherd said, I don't know. Who does it belong to? And maybe this is the land of a whole community, of a whole caste or a creed or a group of people. Maybe this is not the land of a single person, or even if it is, they don't belong, they don't care about it. They left it the way it is. He was not interested in finding out whose it was. And the shepherd commented that I don't care. I don't want to know whose land is that. I have nothing to do with that. He planted his 100 acorns with the greatest care. What was his job? He came here to plant those 100 purely selected, with greatest care selected acorns. He just planted them and he left. After the midday meal, he resumed his planting. I'm reading from the next paragraph on the same page 147. After midday, after eating the lunch, he started again planting the same acorn seeds. I suppose I must have fairly insisted in my questioning, for he answered me. He was asking so many questions and different questions, and the writer, he was asking this person a lot of questions, and he answered quite with a lot of patience. For 3 years he had been planting trees in this wilderness. The shepherd told him that I have been planting trees in this area for 3 years. He had planted 100,000. The shepherd told the writer that I have planted almost 1 lakh or 100,000 oak trees. Of 100,000 he had expected to lose half. And the shepherd told him that I planted 100,000, but I am damn sure, or I am sure that I will lose half of that, because sometimes if you plant a tree or if you plant a seed, it is not necessary, or it is not 100% sure that it will grow into a plant. Sometimes because of the weather, sometimes some animal or some sheep or goats or lambs, etc., they used to eat and destroy those plants. So due to all these things, he is expecting half of them to be grown in full-fledged trees. To rodents or the unpredictable designs of providence. Rodents are those mouse-type animals, small, like mouses, or I don't know exactly what is that word for that, but rodents, they are small rabbit-like animals, and they used to eat this, the roots of these small plants. So he said that because of these things, and also the environment of this area is not too friendly toward trees, so I will lose half of them. There remained 10,000 oak trees to grow where nothing had grown before, and already in 3 years he was successfully able to grow 10,000 trees. Currently he is planting trees, and he said a total of 100,000 trees has been planted by the shepherd, but 10,000 of them has already been grown into full-fledged trees. Look at the last paragraph on page 147. That was when I began to wonder about the age of this man. The writer says that now I was wondering how old is this shepherd. He was obviously over 50. That is the guess of the writer, that I was sure that he is 50 plus. 55, he told me. The shepherd told him that I am 55 years old. His name was Elziad Bouffier. That is the name. It is basically a French name, so its pronunciation can be varied from from different accents. So I don't know how I want to pronounce that, but that is how it is spelled, right? That is his name. He had once had a farm in the lowland. This man, the shepherd, before coming to this area, he was living down there in the city area. There he had his life. He had his own life. He had lost his only son, then his wife. He was having a son and wife. Initially, first he lost his son. It has not been mentioned how or through what problem he lost his son, but he lost his son and then of course his wife. So he was all alone then. He had withdrawn into this solitude where his pleasure was to live leisurely with his lambs and his dog. And then he thought that if I'm going to live alone in lowlands, why not I should live, up there in hilly areas. So he came along with his lambs and dogs, and he loved to stay here. He loved to live in this area. It was his opinion that this land was dying for want of trees. That is his belief. That is the belief of the shepherd, that he thinks that I believe that this land, this area, it is thirsty, it is hungry for trees. That is why I am planting trees here. He added that having no very pressing business of his own, he had resolved to remedy this state of affair. And as he was alone, he has nothing else to do in his life. So he thought, why not go into this hilly area and start planting trees? So he was doing that thing. You have to turn the page and come to page 148. I'm going to read from the start of the page. Since I was at that time, in spite of my youth, leading a solitary life, I understood how to deal gently with solitary spirits. Now the writer himself is commenting that I am also alone. I was also living alone by that time, and I knew how to deal with those people who are living alone. You know, this person, the shepherd, he was also alone, and the writer, he said, I also had that experience. So he knew how to deal with these type of people. But my very youth forced me to consider the future in relation to myself and to a certain quest for happiness. But of course, the writer was much younger than the shepherd, so he said, I was also in that situation, but then I content that, okay, I have chances, I can do something more than, just planting trees. I told him that in 30 years, his 10,000 oaks would be magnificent. I told the shepherd that in 30 years, after 30 years, you will be able to grow a whole new forest. It will be like 10,000 oak trees, and this whole area will look magnificent. That would be a great achievement. He answered quite simply that if God granted him life, in 30 years we would have planted so many more than that these 10,000 would be like a drop of water in the ocean. Look at the hope of the person. Again, I'm referring back to the unit's main theme, that is hope. So the shepherd, he's so hopeful that he commented and he replied to the writer that you are talking about 10,000. I believe if I'm alive for 30 years, I would be able to grow, millions of trees. I can grow at least millions of trees in 30 years. That is how hope keeps on, it gives, like mostly people used to talk about what exactly is religion or what exactly is belief. So belief is basically, it's hope. It gives you hope for life, or to be positive about things. That is what hope does. So that is why this phenomena is being discussed time and again in this whole unit. You will find it in abundance. I'm going to stop here. Inshallah, we will proceed from the same point in the next lecture. Thank you very much.